It's so tangled. The whole thing is just, I think everybody who looks at it realizes this is a rabbit hole that just goes to the center of the earth. And there's so many people involved in it. Here's the big question that people ask. If there was a Jeffrey Epstein, and it seems like all these things he was involved in, is there a Jeffrey Epstein right now that we don't know about? Don't think we really knew until we saw those files come out. Yeah. And then you go, oh, well, there's no denying it now. My position on it is completely shifted. I thought there's probably some really sick people that have an appetite for that, but I hadn't seen any real evidence for it until these files. And now I'm like, oh, this is demonic. This is clearly demonic.
Over 300 names tied to Jeffrey Epstein exploded onto the public scene after a fresh batch of court documents dropped. And get this, Joe Rogan jumped into the mix too, breaking down some of the names that have been hidden behind black bars in earlier filings. In this video, we're diving deep into what's actually been revealed, from Epstein's infamous private island and his sleek aircraft to the powerful connections he kept in business and politics. The details are wild, and the web of influence he spun around the rich and elite runs deeper than most ever imagined. The U.S. Department of Justice released millions of pages, plus thousands of videos and photos connected to Epstein's investigations, but a big chunk of it came out heavily redacted, with whole sections blacked out to protect sensitive info, including the identities of victims and others caught in the documents. Still, what's visible paints a shocking picture of money, secrecy, and influence that refuses to fade away.
And if we found 6 men that they were hiding in 2 hours, imagine how many men they are covering up for in those 3 million.
The Department of Justice insisted that the heavy redactions were made to protect victims and keep sensitive investigation details out of public view. But that didn't stop people from asking tough questions. Why were certain names still blacked out, especially when those same individuals were mentioned in other court documents? The mystery only made the public more curious. Right after the release, online investigators and independent commentators started digging. They claimed they could match some of the hidden names by comparing them with other public records and court filings. Still, it's key to remember, not every claim flying around online has been proven or verified. Some of these so-called discoveries might just be speculation dressed up as fact.
Jeffrey Epstein was texting with congressional delegate Stacey Plaskett while she was sitting in a congressional hearing with President Trump's former lawyer Michael Cohen in 2019.
Then came Joe Rogan's jaw-dropping mention. During a recent talk, he brought up an email found in court records where Epstein was apparently thanked for sending a video described in the message as an inappropriate or unlawful. The kicker? The sender's name was hidden in earlier versions, leaving everyone wondering who sent that message and why it was so carefully covered up. Soon after, reports started buzzing with a huge revelation. The name hidden under those redactions was allegedly Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, the powerful chairman of Dubai's massive logistics empire, DP World. Public records now show his name popping up in several parts of the Epstein document release, though it's important to note no criminal charges have been filed against him in connection to Epstein's case. But once the media heat cranked up, everything shifted fast. Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem suddenly stepped down from his roles as both chairman and CEO of DP World. His name shows up multiple times across the mountain of Epstein-related files, but just being mentioned doesn't automatically mean he did anything wrong. Still,
the Secretary and Labour MP leaked sensitive UK government tax plans to the convicted defender.
Epstein repeatedly sought a meeting or back-channel communications with President Vladimir Putin, at times suggesting he had advice or insight.
The timing had everyone talking and guessing. The released emails paint an even more intriguing picture. Epstein called him a trusted associate, and messages show Epstein introduced him to powerful figures across business and global circles. Even more striking, public records confirm that bin Sulayem personally gave the then Prince of Wales a full tour of DP World's London Gateway port back in 2016. The connections just keep getting deeper.
What is going on
Okay.
here? New documents show Justice Department documents mention Russia thousands of times, Vladimir Putin over 1,000 times, reflecting extensive Russia-related communications and contacts in Epstein's network. Emails, travel records indicate, okay, so there's real something to it. Epstein made multiple trips to Russia, obtained business visas, had scouts there recruiting young Russian women for him, of course.
Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem's name isn't new to the Epstein story. It's popped up before in earlier reports, but things got even louder when U.S. lawmakers Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie recently called him out, listing him among several people they said had documented links to Epstein. Still, no criminal charges connected to Epstein's case have been publicly filed against bin Sulayem so far. According to public records, Epstein stayed in touch with some of the most powerful names in business and politics for years. His name appears again and again on guest lists, flight logs, and inside the elite social circles that tied him to big players both in the US and overseas. The sheer reach of his network is shocking. Even more controversial, some of these interactions happened after Epstein's 2008 conviction in Florida. That detail has reignited major public debate. Why did so many high-profile connections continue with him even after that conviction?
Talk about Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, okay? Resigned as CEO of DP World. This is Dubai's largest port operator. Doesn't help when you have this email, June 2013, from Epstein to bin Sulayem. All I know for sure is that you are one of my most trusted friends in every sense of the word. You have never let me down, not once, not half of once, and I greatly appreciate the time we spend together.
It's a question that keeps raising eyebrows and demanding answers. Court filings and deposition transcripts paint a clear picture. Jeffrey Epstein wasn't just socializing, he was strategically building ties with powerful people. The records show he donated money to politicians, threw private events for the elite, and constantly branded himself as a well-connected financial genius. Everything he did seemed designed to pull big names into his orbit. On a recent podcast, Joe Rogan dropped another headline-making moment. He mentioned Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett while talking about the long list of people whose names have surfaced in Epstein-related public records. But it's important to keep things straight. Just appearing in documents or having contact doesn't automatically mean any wrongdoing or shady behavior took place.
This was the response. Thank you, my friend. I am off the sample, a fresh 100% female Russian at my yacht. Epstein responds, 100% Russian or 100% female? Question, if it were once a man and now has, and describes women's private parts, what percentage is it? And bin Sulayem responds, 100% female.
Still, the public can't help but wonder what kind of connections were really going on behind closed doors. And Epstein's reach didn't stop at U.S. borders. Court documents and leaked emails show he was in touch with figures from the British establishment and other international power players too. His global network was wider and more tangled than most ever imagined. Flight records and official logs reveal that Prince Andrew, Duke of York, boarded Epstein's private jets on multiple occasions. Court documents also include messages and invitations showing Epstein was welcome to high-profile events in the UK. The social overlap between Epstein and the royal circle has only fueled more speculation and questions about just how close those connections really were. One of the most publicized parts of this case centers on Virginia Giuffre, who stated in court filings that she was exploited while underage and claimed she was directed to meet Prince Andrew. The prince has strongly denied these allegations, and in 2022, the civil lawsuit between Giuffre and Prince Andrew was...
Yeah, the messages between the two discuss women, girls, explicit content, business dealings for sure, meetings with world leaders, yeah, and then the video. Where are you? Are you okay? I loved the video. Epstein apparently sent that message in April 2009 to a redacted name, but then you had Representative Thomas Massie, who's been all over this, revealed that this was sent to assault him.
Quietly settled out of court with no admission of guilt or liability. Still, the settlement sent shockwaves through the media and reignited global outrage over Epstein's long list of powerful associates.
And I went to the Department of Justice to read the unredacted Epstein files. We spent about 2 hours there, and we learned that 70 to 80% of the files are still redacted. In fact, There were 6 wealthy, powerful men that the DOJ hid for no apparent reason. When Congressman Massey and I pointed this out to the Department of Justice, they acknowledged their mistake, and now they have revealed the identity
Mr. Speaker,
of 6 powerful men.
Adding to the controversy, certain emails and documents released in the investigation have been interpreted by some commentators as showing Epstein trying to set up introductions between wealthy figures and young women. These supposed connections have sparked intense media coverage, though, as always, not every claim making the rounds online has been proven true or verified. When it comes to officials in the UK and across Europe, a few recognizable names have surfaced in both document dumps and media coverage. Still, it's crucial to remember, just showing up in an email chain or an investigative file doesn't automatically mean criminal activity. Many of the people mentioned have never been charged with any offense connected to Epstein's case, but that hasn't stopped the public from questioning why so many high-level names keep appearing. Epstein's network stretched far, from the United States to the United Kingdom and well beyond. That massive reach has triggered intense public scrutiny, with people asking how one man managed to stay so close to power for so long. Yet, the official records don't show evidence that Epstein ever had direct control over governments or state institutions. What they do reveal is his undeniable access to political leaders, top business figures, and even key players in academia.
These men are Salvatore Navora, Zorab Mikaladze, Leopig Leonor, Nicola Caputa, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, CEO of Dubai Ports World, and billionaire businessman Leslie Wexner, who was labeled as a co-conspirator by the FBI.
And then come the deeper theories. Some commentators have whispered about possible links between Epstein and intelligence agencies, but so far, no official investigation has publicly confirmed any of those claims. For now, those ideas remain pure speculation, but the mystery still keeps everyone talking. Jeffrey Epstein's connections reach deep into the tech world too, including documented interactions with Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates. Reports show the two met several times, and emails from the released documents reveal that Epstein often brought up his connection with Gates. In some messages, he even sounded frustrated when it seemed that friendship had ended. The tone in those exchanges has fueled endless online debate about what was really going on behind the scenes. A spokesperson for Gates has made it clear that he regrets ever meeting with Epstein and has firmly denied any wrongdoing or shady behavior. Just like with others named in these records, having contact with Epstein doesn't automatically mean any crimes were committed, but the public can't ignore how often these powerful names keep showing up together.
Did they reach out to you to talk with you about these payments?
No, ma'am.
And documents recently released by the House Oversight Committee now show that Plaskett, a delegate of the Virgin Islands, and Epstein, a resident of the Virgin Islands, were coordinating in real time.
Gates' team also pushed back hard against any misconduct rumors, calling the claims completely false. They explained that Epstein sometimes tried to use his past ties with Gates to keep himself relevant, or to make it seem like their meetings meant more than they really did. Public filings reveal that Epstein didn't just move in elite social circles, he actually managed funds for some of the world's wealthiest clients. His list of associates stretched from Wall Street power players to top figures in philanthropy, spanning both the US and the UK. Epstein's network wasn't just influential, it was global and packed with names people never expected to see linked to him.
One name that keeps coming up again and again is billionaire businessman Les Wexner.
At 2:24 p.m., Epstein texts, "Cohen brought up Rona, keeper of the secrets." Plaskett responds, "Rona? Quick, I'm up next. Is that an acronym?" Epstein replies, "That's his assistant." Though her name was redacted in the documents, the Washington Post first reported that the timestamps line up with Plaskett's questioning in the hearing.
Wexner has publicly admitted that he had a professional relationship with Epstein in the past, but claimed he cut ties after discovering financial misconduct. Still, the connection between the two has drawn massive attention. Media outlets have even reported that during one congressional session, Wexner's attorney, Michael Levy, was overheard whispering to him, telling him to keep his answers brief when discussing his history with Epstein. That moment set off a wave of speculation about what else might have gone unsaid. It's worth noting that Wexner hasn't been charged with any crimes related to Epstein's case, but his long-running financial link to the disgraced financier continues to raise eyebrows and spark tough questions about who really knew what and when. With every new batch of Epstein-related records, the spotlight keeps widening, this time landing on big names inside the banking world. Financial executives and industry insiders who once crossed paths with Epstein are now facing renewed public attention.
Plaskett, who was a non-voting delegate, faced a vote to censure her after the text came to light, but it ultimately failed. Plaskett has defended her text with Epstein, saying that she took texts and calls from many of her constituents.
I've been a prosecutor for many years. I believe that Jeffrey Epstein had information, and I was going to get information to get at the truth. Having a friendship with him is not something that I would deem to have.
Among them is Catherine Rumler, a top legal executive at Goldman Sachs, who reportedly stepped down after the latest round of scrutiny over her previously reported communications with Epstein. The timing of her departure stirred up serious conversation about just how deep Epstein's ties to high finance really went.
The documents also show multiple payments of thousands of pounds from Epstein to the former Labour spin doctor or his husband, one of which was after Epstein's 2008 conviction for as young as 14 for In a statement last night, Peter Mandelson said he felt regretful and sorry about the new links to Epstein.
Leaked correspondence shows that Rumler maintained professional contact with Epstein even after his first conviction, occasionally giving him advice about managing his reputation. Media outlets also noted that she had accepted gifts from him, details that only intensified speculation about their connection. In response, Goldman Sachs confirmed that it carried out internal reviews regarding the matter. Still, Rumler has not been charged with any crimes linked to Epstein's activities. These new document releases make one thing clear. Epstein's reach ran through nearly every elite circle imaginable, from finance to politics to academia and philanthropy.
Epstein clearly was some sort of a blackmailer. And this is an email that Epstein wrote. So it could be complete fiction. Epstein could have wrote that just to put pressure on Bill Gates for some business deal. Like, who knows? He could have spread rumors and then said that he'll squash those rumors. But these guys are dealing in deception and blackmail, and so you can't, assume that.
Yet, as always, appearing in records or exchanging messages doesn't automatically equal criminal behavior, though it definitely keeps the public talking. Court-released emails show that Jeffrey Epstein was constantly trying to get closer to big names, even in the media world. One set of messages reveals how far he went to make new connections, and this time Joe Rogan's name popped right into the mix.
Also met Jeffrey Epstein exactly one time.
Did you?
Yes, because I wanted to see who this man was. And I regretted it from the second I stepped in the door. He was abhorrent. He was evil personified. I had nightmares about it afterwards. So, my heart breaks for these young women because that's how I felt. And here I'm an older woman. My God, I feel terrible for those young women. It's awful.
During a recent podcast, Rogan said that back in 2017, physicist Lawrence Krauss reached out to him about setting up a potential meeting with Epstein, a proposal that immediately raised eyebrows. Leaked emails later circulating online show Epstein asking Krauss if he could introduce him to Rogan after Rogan had hosted Krauss on his show. In one of those messages, Epstein allegedly wrote that he found Rogan entertaining and wondered if an introduction could be arranged. It's the kind of casual message that now reads with a lot more weight. According to Rogan's own account, he flat out declined and never met Epstein. Still, other emails suggest Epstein didn't drop the idea right away. He kept asking about that meeting. But in the end, it never happened, a near miss that's now become one more eerie detail in Epstein's tangled of connections.
Happy she's no longer married to Bill Gates. She's happy to be away from the muck, as she put it, and we've just seen this interview with Bill Gates on Channel 9.
It's factually true that I was only at dinners. I never went to the island. I never met any women. And so, the more that comes out, the more clear it'll be that although the time was a mistake, it had nothing to do with that kind of behavior.
Like many parts of this case, those emails seem to show Epstein doing what he always did, trying to network his way into every powerful circle possible. But there's no sign that Joe Rogan had any deeper involvement beyond being mentioned. He kept his distance, and for good reason. On his podcast, Rogan revealed that Alex Jones had actually warned him about Epstein long before any meeting could happen. Rogan said those warnings stuck with him and played a big part in his decision to steer clear. There's no public proof that Rogan knew about any criminal activity at the time, and even now, stories about those early warnings don't all line up the same way. Still, it adds another layer to the strange web surrounding Epstein's outreach to big public figures. With so many court documents and investigative reports out in the open, public reaction has been all over the place. Some people are skeptical, while others are demanding deeper scrutiny.
Unfortunately for Bill Gates, now he has to probably deal with the insinuation, at least for many people, that Melinda chose to divorce him and get herself out of that world, also because of his association or his tenuous links, which he denies, with Jeffrey Epstein. The allegation that he presumably got an STD from a Russian prostitute that was associated with Jeffrey Epstein was actually written in a note by Jeffrey Epstein to himself.
Epstein's crimes were proven, and he faced serious federal charges before his death in 2019. But the wider claims of coordinated misconduct and hidden networks remain hotly debated and under ongoing investigation. Official investigations and court rulings have made one thing undeniable: Jeffrey Epstein was involved in serious criminal activity. At the same time, the records prove he surrounded himself with powerful and influential people from nearly every industry imaginable. Still, it's crucial to remember that just being named in the files doesn't automatically mean guilt. Many of those whose names appear in the documents haven't been charged with any crimes linked to Epstein's case, but the public's curiosity about their connections hasn't faded one bit.
Wexner, one of the closest known benefactors of Jeffrey Epstein, says he was, quote, naive, foolish, and gullible for trusting the late convicted sex offender. The 88-year-old testified before members of the House Oversight Committee in a closed-door deposition yesterday. He previously led the former parent company Victoria's Secret and hired Epstein to manage his money in the mid-1980s. In his prepared opening statement, Wexner said he cut ties with Epstein shortly after his arrest in late 2006, but the latest release of Epstein files show the two stayed in touch past then.
As journalists and legal experts continue digging through the massive piles of newly released documents, the spotlight is shifted toward one key goal: real transparency and accountability. People want clear answers, not wild rumors or speculation, and every new detail adds more pressure for the truth to come out. Even though Epstein is no longer alive, the global conversation around his relationships and the deep influence he wielded is far from over. With each document release and every new investigative report, public attention keeps zeroing in on one burning question: how much more about his network still remains hidden? Even years after Jeffrey Epstein's death, the storm around his legacy refuses to calm down. New leaks, hidden files, and insider claims keep resurfacing, pulling more high-profile names into the spotlight.
Inventory. Then there was, I hired a lady to be like the house manager who had run the U.S. Embassy in Rome. And yeah, I know how to do this. And I said, well, why don't we keep inventories of stuff? And she said, well, yeah, I could do that. So she did that. That's kind of a puny example, but I wouldn't have had the idea. But then all the things were inventoried. That wasn't work for me or Jeffrey. It was just regularly done. Answer the question. 5 words, okay? Answer the question.
Investigators, journalists, and even online sleuths are still piecing together how one man managed to weave such a massive web that connected billionaires, royals, politicians, and celebrities across the world. Every time a new batch of documents drops, the public gets another glimpse into just how far Epstein's reach really went, and is always more shocking than expected. Recent reports suggest that analysts are still combing through encrypted communications, offshore account records, and flight data that might reveal even more layers of his global network. Some insiders have hinted that there are still files sealed away under court order, waiting for review, and what's inside could expose new connections no one has talked about yet. While official agencies claim they're focused on protecting victims and handling sensitive information carefully, the demand for full transparency has never been louder. Social media keeps fueling speculation, and the world continues to ask the same haunting question.
I mentioned Catherine Rumler, chief legal officer and general counsel at Goldman Sachs. Guess what? She resigned. Yeah, these two are apparently close. According to the Wall Street Journal, Epstein called her when he was arrested in 2019. She once thanked Epstein after receiving luxury gifts from him, calling him Uncle Jeffrey. See, the issue there is she seemed to indicate that her relationship with Jeffrey Epstein was strictly professional. Let's see what the files seem to show. I'm totally tricked out by Uncle Jeffrey today. Jeffrey boots, handbag, and watch. February 2016, Epstein to Rumler. We all set for a day of joy? Rumler to Epstein. Best massage ever, but not your kind of massage. Epstein writes back. Shame.
Who else was really part of Epstein's hidden circle? As the investigation lingers, one thing's for sure, the story isn't over and the truth still hasn't fully come to light. The Epstein saga just keeps twisting, and what's coming next could shake things up all over again. Sources close to ongoing reviews claim that several financial institutions and private firms are now under renewed pressure to reveal how much they actually knew about Epstein's dealings. Whispers in legal circles hint that some internal communications, long buried in confidential files, might soon see daylight, and that could mean fresh controversy for powerful figures who thought their names were out of the story for good.
May 2015, Epstein writes, if Redacted continues to claim that she had sex with people for money, why is that not pollution in what I pled guilty to? Every massage person got paid money. No girl came to the house to learn math. For money changed the equation. There was a massage person per day. Some turned out to be younger than others, some as old as 60. I'll explain when I see you. Rumler seems to respond, I think the point is that if she was underage, she cannot legally consent to engaging in prostitution.
Investigators are reportedly digging into the complex trail of offshore accounts and shell companies tied to Epstein's money movements. Some experts believe these records could uncover how he managed to move vast sums without drawing major attention for years. The deeper analysts dig, the clearer it becomes that Epstein's operation wasn't just social, it was financial, strategic, and built to stay hidden. Meanwhile, the public isn't letting go. Activists, independent journalists, and even former insiders are demanding that every name, every file, and every transaction linked to Epstein's network be made public. The calls for accountability are only growing louder, and as more evidence surfaces, the lines between money, influence, and corruption keep blurring. The world wants answers, and this story is far from finished. As the investigation into Jeffrey Epstein's world stretches on, the focus is shifting toward the people who helped keep his empire running behind the scenes.
I'm in the files for not going. Yeah, I'm in the files for not going because Jeffrey Epstein was trying to meet with me.
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah, and I was like, what?
I'm like, no thanks.
Yeah.
Aren't you glad?
Yeah, but I would have never went anyway. It's like, it's not even a possibility that I would ever went.
But
especially after I Googled him. I was like, what the f are you talking about? This was like 2017. One of my guests was trying to get me to meet him. I was like, you high?
Reports suggest that new subpoenas have been issued to former assistants, financial advisors, and associates who may have handled key parts of his schedule, travel, and finances. Some of these individuals have already provided testimony under oath, while others are said to be negotiating cooperation deals, a move that could crack open even more details about Epstein's network. Leaked correspondence hints that Epstein relied heavily on a tight inner circle to manage introductions, organize private meetings, and coordinate his global movements. These newly surfaced communications show how carefully Epstein maintained his access to power, from private jets to elite gatherings that mixed wealth, politics, and influence all in one room. The people once seen as mere background players are now being looked at as possible gatekeepers who knew far more than they ever admitted. Meanwhile, major media outlets are preparing new exposés based on still unreleased files expected to drop in upcoming months.
If these documents confirm what insiders claim, they could finally fill in the missing gaps about who helped Epstein maintain his grip on the world's elite. Every new lead brings the case closer to exposing the full truth, and the world is watching every move. The Epstein investigation has now reached a point where the public wants names, not promises. As pressure builds, global attention is zeroing in on the people who allegedly benefited from Epstein's connections, the silent partners, the fixers, and the power brokers who might have helped protect his image for years. Sources familiar with recent legal filings suggest that more than a dozen sealed testimonies could soon be made public, and insiders say those statements might reveal shocking new ties between Epstein's network and elite figures in finance and politics.
About Epstein's Island more than a decade ago, and I thought it was the craziest thing I'd ever heard. I was like, what are you saying? There's an island, like it sounds like a plot in a movie. There's an island where they fly famous rich scientists and politicians, and they compromise them with underage girls and get it on film so they could use it against them. I'm like, what? That sounds like horror. That sounds like lizard people. It sounds like, 5G creates COVID. Same thing. Yeah. But turns out it was true.
Several journalists have hinted that among the sealed materials are communications involving major foundations, private banks, and even lobbying groups that quietly worked with Epstein before his downfall. Some of the emails reportedly show attempts to secure introductions to policymakers and international leaders, evidence of how deeply Epstein tried to embed himself within the system of global power. Officials maintain that the goal of these reviews is to ensure justice for victims and transparency for the public, but many suspect there's still a lot being kept under wraps. As reporters continue digging, new leaks keep sparking waves of speculation online, some credible, others not. What's clear, though, is that Epstein's story isn't finished, and if these upcoming disclosures hit the way insiders expect, the fallout could be explosive. The next phase of the Epstein investigation could be the most revealing yet, and it's already stirring up serious tension among the elite. Sources close to federal inquiries claim that new data analysis projects are underway to map Epstein's full web of connections, using everything from private flight manifests to encrypted messages and offshore account records. Investigators are reportedly cross-referencing years of communications and travel logs to expose hidden links that might connect Epstein's operations to previously unnamed figures in government, tech, and high finance. Rumors are swirling that some of these findings could point to individuals who quietly distanced themselves from Epstein after his 2008 conviction, but continued communicating through intermediaries. That possibility has raised alarms among major law firms and PR agencies, now bracing for impact if more names surface. Behind the scenes, crisis teams are preparing statements, and insiders say several companies have already launched internal reviews to get ahead of potential fallout. The public's demand for answers keeps intensifying as each new clue drops, and so far, transparency hasn't come easy. With more court-ordered document releases expected later this year, analysts believe the next wave of disclosures could finally pull back the curtain on Epstein's remaining secrets. One thing's for sure, the closer investigators get to the truth, the more powerful people start to sweat.
And it's one of many things. He was the first one to warn me about a social credit score system. He's like, they're going to try to implement a social credit score system, and your money is going to be tied. They'll have centralized digital currency, and your money will be tied to your social credit score system, and you step out of line, you won't be able to buy things. You won't be able to travel. You won't be able to do anything. They're going to try to keep you within a 15-minute radius of your home, and they're starting to do that.
As the dust continues to settle around the Epstein investigation, one message stands out loud and clear: the truth matters more than the rumors. Many observers stress that it's crucial to let verified facts surface through official investigations and solid journalism, instead of getting lost in speculation or unverified claims. Every new court release, every verified report, and every confirmed detail helps bring us closer to understanding the full scope of this tangled story. Even now, the case serves as a reminder of how power, influence and secrecy can collide in ways that leave lasting consequences. Journalists, legal analysts, and independent investigators are still pushing for transparency, determined to uncover the facts that remain hidden. The search for accountability hasn't ended. If anything, it's only getting stronger. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with anyone who's been following this ongoing story. Your support helps keep the focus on verified information and real updates, not speculation. And don't forget to drop your thoughts respectfully in the comments. What do you think still hasn't been revealed? Stay tuned, because as more files go public, the truth behind Epstein's network might finally come to light.